I remember that day like it was carved into my bones. Tuesday, ordinary as they come. I had left work early to surprise Noah with tickets to the Mariners game that weekend, his favorite team since he could walk. The spring air felt good against my face as I pulled into our driveway, the one I'd repaved myself last summer, while Vanessa complained about the dust on her patio furniture. The first thing I noticed was the unfamiliar SUV parked behind Vanessa's Audi. Black, expensive looking, not one of her usual friends' cars. I didn't think much of it. Probably just someone dropping something off. As I stepped out of my truck, the front door opened. Vanessa emerged, followed by a tall man with salt and pepper hair and designer clothes that screamed, "I have something to prove." Behind him trailed two boys, maybe 8 and 10, looking uncomfortable in this strange house. "Mark," Vanessa said, her voice carrying that artificial brightness she used when lying to waiters about enjoying mediocre meals. "You're home early." I stood frozen, keys dangling from my hand. "Yeah, thought I'd surprise Noah." The man stepped forward, extending his hand like we were at a business meeting. "I'm Daniel. Good to meet you." I didn't take his hand. Something was very wrong here. The way Vanessa positioned herself slightly closer to him than to me. The way she wouldn't meet my eyes. Vanessa straightened her shoulders, the way she did before delivering bad news to clients at her real estate office. "Mark, Daniel, and his boys will be staying with us for a while. I've been trying to find the right time to tell you," she continued, her voice steady but her fingers fidgeting with her bracelet, the one I'd given her for our 10th anniversary. "Our marriage is over. It has been for a long time." Blood rushed to my ears, muffling everything except my heartbeat. The boys looked at their shoes. Daniel had the decency to look uncomfortable. "You're leaving me?" I managed to say, the words feeling foreign in my mouth. "For him?" "It's not like that," she said, though it was exactly like that. "Daniel and I have a connection. We understand each other." I laughed, a harsh, ugly sound. "A connection? Is that what you call fucking someone behind your husband's back?" "You don't talk," I snapped, pointing at him. "You don't get to say anything in my house." That's when the side door slammed. Noah stood there, backpack still on, face pale with shock. My son, our son, 12 years old and suddenly witnessing his family implode. Vanessa's face softened. "Noah, honey, these are Daniel's boys, Tyler and Jake. They're going to be staying with us for a while." Noah's eyes darted between us all, landing finally on me. I saw the question there, the desperate hope that I would say this was all a misunderstanding. Before I could answer, Noah pulled out his phone. "Is this why you called me a roadblock, Mom? Is this why you told Daniel you wanted to get rid of me?" "I saw your messages," Noah said, his voice stronger now, angry tears forming. "When you left your iPad at home last week, you said I was making things complicated, that you wished you could just start over without me. I felt like I'd been punched. Vanessa had always been a devoted mother, or so I thought, the idea that she would say such things about our son." "Don't lie to him," I cut in, a cold clarity replacing my shock. "You've lied enough." I walked past them all, into the house, our house, with the mortgage I paid, with the renovations I'd done with my own hands. I went straight to my office and pulled out the bottom drawer of my filing cabinet. Behind the tax returns and insurance policies was a manila folder I'd started 6 weeks ago when I first suspected something was wrong. When I returned to the driveway, Vanessa was trying to approach Noah, who backed away from her. "Mark, please," she said when she saw me. "Let's talk about this privately." I held up the folder. "Like how you've been privately meeting Daniel at the Marriott on Thursdays, or privately spending our savings on weekend trips to Portland." "I've been confirming what I already knew," I replied, opening the folder to reveal screenshots of text messages, bank statements, hotel receipts. "You weren't exactly careful, Vanessa." Vanessa reached for Noah, grabbing his arm. "Noah, please, you don't understand." "We'll let the lawyers sort that out," I replied. "But tonight, you're not staying here." The look she gave him wasn't loving, it was calculating. I wondered if he knew what he was getting into. As they walked toward Daniel's SUV, his boys trailing behind like confused puppies, Vanessa turned back. When their car disappeared down the street, my legs finally gave out. I sank onto the front step, the manila folder falling from my hands, papers scattering across the walkway. Noah sat beside me, his young face too serious, too hurt. I wasn't. I felt like my chest had been hollowed out with a rusty spoon. 15 years of marriage, gone. The future I'd planned, erased. But Noah needed me to be strong. "We're going to be okay," I told him, putting my arm around his shoulders. "I promise." But as the sun set over our neighborhood, casting long shadows across what remained of my life, I had no idea how I would keep that promise. That night was the longest of my life. After Noah finally fell asleep, his door locked at his insistence, I sat in our kitchen drinking whiskey straight from the bottle. Not my proudest moment, but I needed something to dull the razor edges of betrayal slicing through me. I scrolled through photos on my phone. Vanessa and me in Maui for our anniversary, Noah's birthday last year with Vanessa ruffling his hair, the three of us at Christmas with matching sweaters. Had she been faking happiness in these moments? Or had she still loved me then, before Daniel? 8 months. While I was renovating our bathroom. While we were planning Noah's future. While we were still having sex less frequently, but I'd attributed that to normal marriage ebbs and flows. I hurled my phone across the room, watching it crack against the wall. Then I put my head in my hands and did something I hadn't done since my father died. I wept. Not quiet tears, but gut-wrenching sobs that felt torn from somewhere primal inside me. Therein. When morning came, I looked like hell. Noah wasn't much better. We ate cereal in silence, both jumping when my phone, retrieved and still functioning despite its new spiderweb of cracks, buzzed with a text. I showed Noah the message. "You don't have to be here for this. I can call Mrs. Reeves next door." So we spent the morning packing Vanessa's clothes, jewelry, and personal items. I worked mechanically, trying not to remember buying her that blue dress for her birthday or the earrings she wore to my sister's wedding. Noah helped silently, occasionally pausing to look at something before placing it carefully in a box. At exactly noon, the doorbell rang. Vanessa stood there with Daniel hovering behind her, no sign of his kids this time. She stepped inside, Daniel following. The house felt too small with him in it. While Daniel carried boxes out, Vanessa wandered through the house, touching things. The mantel, the kitchen counter, the bookshelf. "I need to get some of the household items," she announced. "The Le Creuset cookware was my grandmother's, and I want the painting from the dining room." She looked at me, then really looked at me, for the first time that day. "Are you okay?" The question ignited something in me. "Am I okay? Are you fucking kidding me, Vanessa? You blow up our family, move your boyfriend in without warning, and you're asking if I'm okay?" "I didn't mean for it to happen like this," she said, her eyes welling up. "I was going to tell you properly." "When? After you'd already moved half your things to his place? After you'd figured out how to get rid of Noah, too?" "That's not fair," she protested. "I love Noah. I would never abandon him." Noah, who had been silent until now, spoke up. "But you did abandon us. Both of us." "Don't touch me," he shouted, backing away. "You lied to Dad, and you lied to me. You're still lying." Daniel appeared in the doorway, his expression uncomfortable. "Everything okay in here?" They spent the next hour loading the truck. I watched from the window as my wife, soon-to-be ex-wife, dismantled 15 years of our life together, carrying it piece by piece into another man's vehicle. When they were finished, Vanessa came back inside one last time. She stood in the entryway, looking lost in the house she decorated. "I know you hate me right now," she said quietly, "but I hope someday you'll understand. I wasn't happy, Mark. I haven't been for a long time." "You could have told me," I replied, my voice hoarse. "We could have tried counseling. We could have worked on it. Instead, you lied and cheated and destroyed everything we built." "It wasn't working anymore," she insisted. "We were just going through the motions." "That was your choice," I said. "You chose to check out instead of checking in." Noah appeared from his room, holding something. A framed photo of the three of us at the beach last summer. "Here," he said, thrusting it at Vanessa. "You should keep this, to remember what you threw away." After they left, the house felt cavernous and empty. Noah retreated to his room, and I sat on the couch staring at nothing. My phone buzzed with a text from Vanessa. "I'm sorry it ended this way. I'll always care about you." That night, I lay awake in our bed, my bed now, replaying every moment of our marriage, searching for signs I'd missed. Had I been a bad husband? Too focused on work? Not attentive enough? The questions circled like vultures. 2 days later, while Noah was at school, my phone buzzed with another text from Vanessa. "I've spoken to a lawyer. You were emotionally abusive throughout our marriage. I'm filing for divorce and full custody of Noah." A Haskell? The accusation hit me like a physical blow. Abusive? I had never raised my voice to her before this week, never controlled her, never done anything but love her. But I knew what this was. She was building a narrative to justify her betrayal, to make herself the victim instead of the villain. I called my brother Ryan, who'd been through a nasty divorce 3 years earlier. "She's rewriting history," he confirmed after I read him the text. Classic cheater's move. "You need a lawyer, Mark." Today. That afternoon, I sat in the office of Patricia Winters, a divorce attorney with a reputation for being both fair and fierce. "So your wife had an affair, moved her boyfriend in without warning, and is now claiming emotional abuse," Patricia summarized, reviewing my manila folder of evidence. "And she wants full custody of your son, who witnessed her calling him a roadblock to her new relationship." Patricia looked up, her eyes sharp. "Mr. Lawson, I'm going to be blunt. Your wife has made a serious tactical error. She's overplaying her hand with these abuse allegations when you have documented evidence of her infidelity and her disparaging comments about your son. A judge won't look kindly on that." For the first time in days, I felt a flicker of hope. "So you think we can fight this?" "I know we can," she said confidently. "But you need to be prepared for things to get ugly. When people feel cornered, they lash out." She was right. That evening, Vanessa showed up with 2 police officers to retrieve more of her belongings. "This is unnecessary," I told the officers as they stood awkwardly in my living room. "She's welcome to take her things." "Mr. Lawson has been threatening me," Vanessa claimed, not meeting my eyes. "I don't feel safe around him." "None whatsoever," I replied calmly. "I haven't contacted her since she left, except to respond to her texts about arrangements for our son." The officer nodded slightly. "Ma'am, please collect your items quickly so we can be on our way." As Vanessa gathered more of her things, Noah came downstairs. He froze when he saw the police officers. "It's okay, buddy," I assured him. "Mom just needed to get some more of her stuff." Noah looked at her, then at the officers, then back at her. "Why did you bring the police? Dad didn't do anything wrong." Vanessa flushed. "Noah, that's enough. Go to your room while I finish here." "He doesn't have to go anywhere," I said quietly. "This is his home, and he has every right to be here." The tension in the room was thick enough to cut. Vanessa quickly gathered the rest of her things and left with the officers, who gave me sympathetic nods on their way out. That night, Noah crawled into bed with me, something he hadn't done since he was 8. I stared at the ceiling, searching for an answer that would make sense to a 12-year-old when it didn't even make sense to me. "Sometimes," I finally said, "people make choices that hurt others because they're only thinking about themselves. It doesn't mean they're all bad, but it does mean they're not thinking clearly." I sighed. "No, I'm angry and hurt, but I don't hate her. She's still your mom." I turned to look at him, his profile barely visible in the dim light. "Try not to hate her, buddy. Hate just hurts you more in the end. It's okay to be angry, but don't let it eat you up inside." Even as I said the words, I wondered if I could follow my own advice. Because the truth was, beneath my shock and pain, a cold, hard anger was forming. Not just at the betrayal, but at Vanessa's attempts to destroy me after everything she'd already taken. As Noah's breathing deepened into sleep, I made a silent promise to myself and to him. I would not let her take anything else from us. Not our home, not our relationship, and certainly not our dignity. A week after Vanessa left, I was a walking ghost. I went to work, came home, made dinner for Noah, helped with homework, and then sat in the dark after he went to bed, replaying every moment of my marriage like a detective searching for clues I'd missed. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "We should talk. This is Daniel." I stared at the message, a surge of rage coursing through me. The audacity of this man to contact me after destroying my family. That weekend, instead of dwelling on the text, I took Noah fishing at Lake Washington. As we sat in the early morning mist, lines cast into the still water, Noah looked more relaxed than he had in days. "Dad?" he said, breaking our comfortable silence. "Are you going to fight for me?" Mom told me on the phone yesterday that I might have to live with her and Daniel soon, that the court would probably give her custody because she's my mom. I took a deep breath, tamping down my anger. "Noah, I promise you, I will fight with everything I have to keep you with me. And your mom shouldn't be telling you things like that. or asking you to keep secrets?" He nodded, looking relieved. "I don't want to live with them. Daniel's kids are weird, and he keeps trying to act like he's my friend." "You won't have to," I assured him, though my stomach churned with uncertainty. I'd heard enough horror stories about family court to know that nothing was guaranteed. That evening, after Noah was asleep, I pulled out the manila folder again. I spread the contents across the dining room table, organizing them chronologically. The earliest evidence was from January credit card charges at a restaurant I'd never been to, followed by a hotel charge the same night. Then came the text messages Noah had discovered, the bank withdrawals, the receipts. But it wasn't enough. I needed more if I was going to counter Vanessa's abuse allegations and custody claim. I remembered something my brother had mentioned during his divorce. Document everything. Every conversation, every text, every interaction. The truth is your best weapon. I opened my laptop and started a detailed log, recording every interaction with Vanessa since the day she left, including her false claims to the police and her inappropriate call to Noah at school. As I worked, a notification popped up on my laptop, an email from an unfamiliar address. The subject line read, "You should know this about Daniel." I hesitated before opening it. Inside was a brief message. "I dated Daniel Mercer for 6 months last year. He was seeing your wife while still with me. He has a pattern of pursuing married women. I have proof if you need it. Alicia." Attached were screenshots of text conversations between Daniel and this woman, dated during the period he was supposedly exclusive with Vanessa. In one exchange, he referred to Vanessa as just another conquest and boasted about how easy it was to make her fall for him. I sat back, a cold clarity washing over me. This wasn't just about Vanessa's betrayal anymore. This was about protecting Noah from being used as a pawn in her game with a man who clearly had no moral compass. I forwarded the email to Patricia, my lawyer, with a brief note. Potential character evidence against Daniel could be useful for custody hearing. Her response came within minutes, despite the late hour. "Excellent. Keep digging. The more we know, the stronger our position." For the first time since Vanessa left, I felt something other than pain and anger. I felt purpose. I wasn't just a victim of my wife's betrayal. I was a father fighting for his son's well-being and his own dignity. 2 days later, Ryan arrived with his friend Steve, who worked in digital forensics. While Noah was at school, Steve recovered deleted texts and emails from our home computer, the one Vanessa had used regularly before getting her work laptop. What we found was damning. Emails to Daniel describing their escape plan. Messages to her friend Melissa about how she planned to take Mark for everything he's worth in the divorce. A draft email never sent to her mother, admitting she'd been unhappy for years but stayed for financial security. "This is gold," Steve said, copying the files onto a flash drive, especially the part where she discusses making false abuse allegations to gain leverage. I felt sick reading her calculated plans, but also strangely liberated. The woman I'd loved, the woman I thought I knew, had never really existed. The real Vanessa was this person who could coldly plot to destroy me while sleeping beside me each night. "Yeah," I said, surprising myself by meaning it. "For the first time, I actually am." That night, I added the new evidence to my growing file and called Patricia to update her. "We're in an excellent position now," she confirmed. "But be prepared. When Vanessa realizes what we have, she's going to escalate." She was right. The very next day, Vanessa showed up at our door unannounced. When I opened it, I barely recognized her. Gone was the polished real estate agent. In her place stood a woman with red-rimmed eyes and disheveled hair. "This is still legally my house, too," she snapped, then softened her tone. "Mark, please, things have gotten out of hand." She sank onto the couch, looking suddenly small. "Daniel and I, things aren't working out." "He's not who I thought he was," she continued. "He's been seeing someone else." She looked up at me, her eyes pleading. "I've been thinking about us, about Noah. Maybe we could try again, for his sake." The suggestion was so absurd that for a moment I couldn't respond. Was she seriously proposing we reconcile after everything she'd done? "Mark, please," she said, rising to approach me. "We have 15 years together. A son, a home. Are you really going to throw all that away?" "I didn't throw it away," I replied evenly. "You did. The moment you decided to cheat, instead of talking to me about whatever problems you thought we had." "People make mistakes," she insisted. I made a terrible mistake, but I still care about you, about our family. You cared so much that you called our son a roadblock? That you filed false abuse allegations against me? That you tried to take him away from me?" She had the grace to look ashamed. "I was desperate, confused. I didn't mean those things." "But you did them," I pointed out. "Actions have consequences, Vanessa. You can't just decide you want your old life back when your new one doesn't work out." She moved closer, placing a hand on my arm. "Mark, please. For Noah's sake." I stepped back, breaking contact. "Don't use Noah as an excuse. This isn't about him. It's about you not wanting to face the consequences of your choices." Her expression hardened. "Fine. If that's how you want to play it, I'll see you in court, and I will get custody of Noah." After she left, I called Patricia again to report the interaction. She advised me to file for temporary full custody immediately, citing Vanessa's erratic behavior and the evidence we'd gathered. 2 days later, Vanessa returned. This time she was dressed immaculately, hair perfect, makeup flawless, the Vanessa I remembered. "I've been thinking about what you said," she began when I opened the door. "You're right, I made terrible choices, and I need to take responsibility for them. Daniel and I are over," she continued. "I've moved into an apartment near my office. I want to co-parent with you to do what's best for Noah." She looked down. I realized I was becoming someone I didn't recognize, someone selfish and cruel. That's not who I want to be, especially not as Noah's mother. It sounded rehearsed, like something from a self-help book or a therapy session. But there was also a hint of genuine remorse in her voice. "I appreciate that," I said carefully. "But it doesn't change where we are now." "I know," she acknowledged. "I just wanted you to know that I'm dropping the abuse allegations. They were false, and I'm ashamed I made them." "Can I see Noah?" she asked. "Just for a little while. I miss him so much." "He's at basketball practice," I replied. "And honestly, Vanessa, I think any visit should be supervised for now, given everything that's happened." Her face fell, but she nodded. "I understand. Can you at least tell him I love him?" After she left, I sat on the porch steps, trying to process this new development. Was her remorse genuine, or just another manipulation? And even if it was genuine, did it matter? Some betrayals cut too deep to heal. "She says she loves you and wants to see you," I explained, "but it's entirely up to you if and when that happens." Noah considered this, his young face serious beyond his years. "Maybe someday," he said finally, "but not yet. I'm still too angry." Later, as I updated my evidence log with notes about Vanessa's visit, I realized something had shifted inside me. The raw wound of betrayal was still there, but it no longer dominated my every thought. In its place was a steely resolve to protect what mattered most, Noah's well-being and our future together. The next morning, I filed for divorce and full custody, with supervised visitation for Vanessa. Patricia assured me our case was strong, especially with Vanessa's withdrawal of the abuse allegations. But be prepared, she warned. People like your wife often have one last desperate move when they realize they're losing control. The call came on a Wednesday afternoon while I was at work. The number displayed was Noah's school. "Mr. Lawson, this is Principal Garza. There's been an incident involving Noah and his mother. He's fine, but upset. Mrs. Lawson showed up during lunch period and tried to remove him from school. Noah refused to go with her, and there was a scene." When I arrived at the school, Noah was sitting in the counselor's office, his face pale but composed. He jumped up when he saw me. He nodded against my chest. "Mom tried to make me leave with her. She said you were keeping me from her and that I should come stay at her new apartment. When I said no, she started crying and saying I didn't love her anymore." Principal Garza, a stern woman with kind eyes, stepped forward. "Mr. Lawson, we have a court order on file indicating you have temporary full custody, which is why we didn't allow Mrs. Lawson to take Noah. However, the situation was distressing for everyone involved. She left after we called security," the principal explained, "but she was quite upset. I thanked her for protecting Noah and took him home early. As we drove, he stared out the window, unusually quiet. He shrugged. Mom seemed different, desperate. She kept saying she'd made a mistake and wanted to fix our family." Noah was silent for a long moment. "I think it's too late," he finally said. "She broke something that can't be fixed, out of the mouths of babes." My 12-year-old son had articulated exactly what I felt but couldn't put into words. When we got home, I called Patricia to report the incident. She was concerned but not surprised. "This actually helps our case," she explained. "She violated the temporary custody order. I'll file a motion to document this incident before our court date next week." The court date. After weeks of preparation, evidence gathering, and emotional turmoil, we would finally face a judge who would decide our future. The night before the hearing, I couldn't sleep. I paced our house, my house now, really rehearsing what I would say, how I would remain calm when facing Vanessa and her lawyer across the courtroom. I considered lying, then decided against it. A little, but not because I think we'll lose. I'm scared because it makes everything so final. He nodded, understanding more than a child his age should have to. It's like when you know you have to get a shot. The waiting is worse than the actual needle. "We'll be okay," he said with surprising confidence. "You always say the truth wins in the end." The next morning we dressed in our best clothes. Noah in the suit he'd worn to my father's funeral, me in the charcoal gray suit I saved for important client meetings. Patricia met us outside the courthouse, her briefcase bulging with our evidence. "Remember," she advised as we walked in, "stay calm no matter what. Let me do the talking unless the judge addresses you directly." The courtroom was smaller than I expected, more intimate, which somehow made it more intimidating. Vanessa was already there with her lawyer, a sharp-looking woman in an expensive suit. Vanessa had dressed conservatively, her makeup subtle, her expression appropriately solemn. The judge, an older man named Honorable Richard Townsend, called the court to order. What followed was a surreal experience, listening to lawyers discuss the intimate details of my failed marriage as if they were talking about strangers. Vanessa's lawyer painted her as a devoted mother who had made a regrettable mistake but deserved forgiveness and equal custody. She spoke of Vanessa's emotional distress during the marriage and hinted at controlling behavior on my part without directly repeating the withdrawn abuse allegations. When it was Patricia's turn, she methodically presented our evidence. The text messages disparaging Noah, the documented affair, Vanessa's attempt to remove Noah from school against the custody order. She emphasized my stability, my consistent presence in Noah's life, and his expressed desire to live with me. "Your Honor," Patricia concluded, "this is not about punishing Mrs. Lawson for her infidelity. This is about providing a stable, loving environment for a child who has already experienced significant trauma due to his mother's choices." The judge asked several questions of both lawyers, then requested to speak with Noah privately in his chambers. Noah looked at me nervously. While Noah was with the judge, Vanessa approached me in the hallway. Her lawyer tried to stop her, but she brushed past. "Mark," she said quietly, "whatever happens today, I want you to know I'm sorry. Truly sorry." I looked at her, really looked at her, for the first time in weeks. The woman I'd loved for 15 years. The mother of my child, now essentially a stranger. "I believe you're sorry," I replied, "but I don't think you understand what you're sorry for. You're sorry things didn't work out the way you planned. You're sorry Daniel wasn't who you thought. You're sorry you got caught. But I don't think you're sorry for the pain you caused Noah, or for trying to take him away from me, or for lying about me being abusive." "That's not fair," she protested. "I've admitted I was wrong about all of that. Only after your plan fell apart," I pointed out. "If Daniel had been faithful to you, if your escape plan had worked, would you have ever admitted any wrongdoing?" When Noah returned from the judge's chambers, his expression gave nothing away. We all filed back into the courtroom to hear Judge Townsend's decision. "Having reviewed the evidence and spoken with the minor child," the judge began, "I find that it is in Noah Lawson's best interest to remain primarily in his father's custody. Mrs. Lawson will have visitation every other weekend, supervised for the first 3 months by a court-appointed monitor. After 3 months, if these visits proceed without incident, supervision may be lifted. Furthermore," the judge continued, "the family home will remain with Mr. Lawson, as he has been the primary financial contributor and will be the primary custodial parent. Mrs. Lawson is entitled to equitable division of other marital assets as determined in the divorce proceedings." "This isn't over," she hissed, her composed facade cracking. "I'll appeal. I'll fight for my son." "Mom, stop," Noah said firmly. "This is what I want." "Why can't you respect that?" In the parking lot, she tried one more time, grabbing my arm as Noah waited by our car. "Mark, please, we can work this out. I made a terrible mistake, but I still care about you. About us. I gently removed her hand. There is no us anymore, Vanessa. There's me, there's you, and there's Noah. We'll co-parent as best we can, but that's all we'll ever be to each other now. I considered the question carefully. Maybe someday. But not for you. For me. Because holding on to this anger isn't healthy. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Some things can't be undone. As I walked away, I felt a weight lifting. Not completely gone, but lighter. The confrontation I dreaded had become a moment of clarity, of standing my ground not out of anger or revenge, but out of self-respect and love for my son. In the car, Noah looked at me questioningly. Is Mom going to keep fighting us? I don't think so, I said, surprising myself with my certainty. I think she finally understands this is how things have to be now. And for the first time since Vanessa had stood in our driveway with Daniel and his children, I believed we were going to be okay. The weeks following the court hearing brought a strange new normal. Vanessa attended her supervised visitations with Noah, behaving with a restraint I hadn't expected. Noah returned from these visits quiet, but not upset, gradually relaxing as the pattern established itself. Our house, once filled with the echoes of a family of 3, adjusted to just the 2 of us. I learned to cook meals Noah would actually eat. My early attempts at lasagna became a running joke between us. We established new routines. Sunday morning pancakes, Friday night movies, basketball in the driveway when weather permitted. The divorce proceedings continued, less dramatic than the custody battle but still painful, dividing 15 years of shared life into yours and mine. Patricia guided me through with steady competence, and by early summer, it was finalized. I was officially single again at 42. Surreal, I admitted. Like I've been through a long illness, and I'm finally recovering, but I'm not quite the same person I was before. He was right. The man I'd been before trusting, to the point of blindness, defining myself primarily as a husband, was gone. In his place was someone more cautious, but also more self-aware, someone who understood his own worth wasn't determined by someone else's ability to love him properly. One evening in July, I was sorting through a box of old photos I'd been avoiding, trying to organize them for Noah's sake, when the doorbell rang. Vanessa stood on the porch, looking uncertain. The supervisor canceled last minute, she explained. I should have called first, but I was already on my way. Is Noah here? He's at a friend's house for a sleepover, I replied. Tyler's birthday party. Oh, she looked genuinely disappointed. I brought his favorite ice cream. I guess I should have checked the schedule. Would you like to come in? I offered, surprising myself. The ice cream shouldn't go to waste. We sat at the kitchen island, eating mint chocolate chip from the carton like we used to do when we first started dating. The familiarity of it was disorienting. I'm okay, I said truthfully. Better than I expected to be by now. How about you? She shrugged. Managing. My apartment is nice. Work is good. I made partner last month. Congratulations, I said, and meant it. Vanessa had always been ambitious and talented at her job. Daniel moved to Portland, she offered after another silence. With his ex-wife, actually. They reconciled. She considered the question, relieved mostly. What I felt for him wasn't real. It was an escape fantasy, a way to avoid dealing with my own unhappiness. I nodded, not trusting myself to speak. This was the most honest conversation we'd had in years, maybe ever. I've been seeing a therapist, she continued, trying to understand why I did what I did, why I was willing to hurt you and Noah. She set down her spoon. Some of it. I was afraid of getting older, of being stuck in a life that felt predictable. I wanted excitement, validation. And Daniel made me feel special, desired, but mostly, I was a coward. Instead of telling you I was unhappy, instead of working on our marriage or even ending it honestly, I took the easy way out. Does it? She asked, looking hopeful. Because I've wanted to apologize properly for months, but I wasn't sure you'd listen. She took a deep breath. Mark, I am so deeply sorry for what I did to you and to Noah. Not just the affair, but everything after. The lies, the custody battle, all of it. You deserved better. Noah deserved better. And I will spend the rest of my life trying to make it up to him at least. The sincerity in her voice was unmistakable. For the first time, I truly believed she understood the magnitude of what she'd done. She glanced around the kitchen, taking in the subtle changes I'd made. New bar stools, different coffee maker, Noah's artwork now displayed on the refrigerator instead of in a drawer. She nodded, understanding. I should go. Tell Noah I'll see him next weekend? At the door, she paused. For what it's worth, Mark, you're a wonderful father. Noah is lucky to have you. After she left, I returned to my box of photos, finding it easier somehow to sort through the memories. I created a pile for Noah, images of his childhood he should have regardless of what happened between his parents. Another pile for myself, moments I wanted to remember despite the pain. And a third pile to discard wedding photos, anniversary celebrations, images of a life that no longer existed. Today I realized I'm no longer angry all the time. The anger is still there, but it's no longer consuming me. I can look at Vanessa now and see a flawed human being who made terrible choices, not a monster who deliberately set out to destroy me. That's progress, I think. Not forgiveness exactly, but something close to understanding. And now Noah seems happier too. More settled. He laughed today, a real laugh, not the careful one he's been using since everything fell apart. When I asked what was funny, he said, "Nothing really. I just feel good today." That's all I want for him. To feel good. To know he's loved. To believe that one person's choices don't define his worth or his future. As for me, I'm learning to imagine a future different from the one I planned. Maybe someday I'll trust someone enough to try again. Maybe not. Either way, I'm okay with who I am now. Stronger in the broken places, as Hemingway said. 2 months later, Noah and I went hiking in the mountains, something we'd started doing regularly as our own special tradition. As we reached the summit, looking out over the valley below, Noah pulled out his phone. He showed me a photo from 3 years ago. Vanessa, Noah, and me, at this same spot, smiling into the camera, the perfect family portrait. I studied the image, searching for the pain it would surely cause, but finding instead a gentle nostalgia. Noah nodded, tucking the phone away. I was thinking about next summer. Could we maybe go camping at Yellowstone? Tyler went with his dad and said it was awesome. Absolutely, I agreed, touched that he was planning our future adventures. We could make it a road trip, see a few national parks along the way. As we hiked back down, Noah chattering about wildlife and geysers, I realized we hadn't mentioned Vanessa once. Not out of avoidance or anger, but simply because our life had expanded beyond the boundaries of her absence. We had created something new from the wreckage. Not perfect, but authentic and increasingly joyful. That night, Noah fell asleep on the couch during our movie. As I carried him to bed, no small feat now that he was nearly as tall as my shoulder, he stirred slightly. 4 simple words that healed more than all the therapy sessions, more than all the legal victories, more than all the painful conversations with Vanessa. In that moment, I knew with absolute certainty that we had not just survived, but begun to thrive. The broken pieces had been reassembled into something different but whole, a mosaic more beautiful for having been shattered and carefully, lovingly restored. 1 year after the court hearing, I stood in our backyard, watching Noah shoot baskets with his friends. At 13, he was all gangly limbs and sudden growth spurts, his voice cracking unpredictably mid-sentence. But his smile, that was the same, and it came more easily now. The yard was filled with people, my brother and his family, neighbors who had supported us through the worst times, Noah's basketball teammates and their parents. A simple barbecue to celebrate the end of summer, but it felt like more than that. It felt like a celebration of renewal. "Nice party," said a voice beside me. I turned to find Patricia, my former lawyer and now friend, holding a beer. It hadn't been a straight line to healing. There had been setbacks, Noah's anger flaring unexpectedly, my own dark nights of doubt and loneliness. But gradually, almost imperceptibly, we had built a new life that no longer felt like a consolation prize for surviving trauma. Vanessa had kept her word, attending her visitations consistently and respecting the boundaries we'd established. After 6 months, the supervision requirement had been lifted, and she now took Noah every other weekend. Their relationship was different, more like friends than mother and son sometimes, but it was healing in its own way. As for me, I had changed in ways I never expected. I'd taken up woodworking, converting the garage into a workshop where I built simple furniture on weekends. I'd reconnected with old friends I'd lost touch with during my marriage. I'd even started dating again, cautiously, transparently, with no illusions about happily ever after, but with hope for companionship and joy. My phone buzzed with a text from Sarah, the kindergarten teacher I'd been seeing for the past 2 months. Still on for dinner tomorrow? I'm thinking Italian. Sarah knew my story, all of it. I'd been determined not to build anything new on a foundation of secrets or half-truths. To my surprise, my honesty hadn't scared her away, but had drawn her closer. "Broken and rebuilt is stronger than never tested," she'd said after I told her everything. "Dad," Noah called from the basketball court. "Come play. We need one more for teams." As I joined the game, I marveled at how different this felt from the pickup games I'd played in my 20s. I was slower now, with a knee that protested certain movements, but I was also more present, more aware of the simple joy of movement and competition and connection. Noah and I were on opposite teams, and he guarded me with fierce concentration, trash-talking good-naturedly. "You're getting old, Dad. Can't keep up with the young blood." I faked left, then drove right past him for a layup. "Still got a few tricks, kid." Later, as guests began to leave and the summer twilight settled over our yard, Noah helped me clean up without being asked. We worked in comfortable silence, gathering plates and cups, folding chairs, storing leftover food. "That was fun," he said as we finished. "We should do it again before school starts." "Definitely," I agreed. "Maybe invite Sarah next time, if you're comfortable with that." He considered this, his expression thoughtful. "Yeah, that would be cool. I like her. She's funny." The question caught me off guard with its directness. I looked at my son, this perceptive, resilient young man who had weathered a storm no child should face, and gave him the honesty he deserved. "I am," I said. "Not in the same way I was before, but maybe in a better way, a more real way. Does that make sense?" He nodded. "Yeah. It's like when I broke my arm in 5th grade. It hurt a lot, but when it healed, the doctor said the bone was actually stronger at the break point." That night, after Noah went to bed, I sat on the back porch with a glass of whiskey, looking at the stars. I thought about the man I'd been 2 years ago, comfortable, complacent, blind to the cracks in my marriage. I thought about the man I'd been 1 year ago, devastated, angry, fighting for survival. And I thought about the man I was, now scarred but stronger, more authentic, more aware of both my vulnerabilities and my strength. The betrayal that had nearly destroyed me had instead forced me to rebuild myself from the foundation up. I had lost a wife, but rediscovered myself as a father, a friend, a man capable of both protecting what mattered and letting go of what didn't. As I finished my whiskey, my phone buzzed with one last text for the night. It was from my brother. "Proud of you, man. Not many could have handled all this with the grace you've shown. Dad would be proud, too." I smiled at the message, feeling a sense of peace that had once seemed impossible. The path forward wasn't perfect or certain, but it was mine, chosen with clear eyes and an open heart. Whatever came next, whether with Sarah or someone else, whether challenges with Noah or new opportunities for both of us, I would face it with the hard-won knowledge that I was enough. Not because someone else validated me, but because I had proven it to myself in the crucible of betrayal and recovery. The stars above seemed brighter somehow, the night air sweeter. I raised my glass in a silent toast to Noah, to our future, to the unexpected gift of starting again,